When I was growing up, there was nothing more celebrated than the release of a new Lucasfilm point-and-click adventure game. In fact, I still cite Brian Moriarty's Loom whenever talking about my favorite video games of all time. But you can't talk about that era of gaming without at least mentioning Sam & Max Hit the Road, an adventure starring a dog and a rabbit who fight crime and call themselves the Freelance Police. The writing, humor, art, and animations were all great, but it was the interactions between Sam and Max that really made the game come alive.
Hello! Oh, it's you.
Welcome, kid.
Well, fast forward almost 30 years, and Sam & Max VR, this time it's virtual, has hit the PlayStation Store. And rather than playing the entire game from a third-person perspective, you play in first person as a brand new character, a recruit that needs to go through the freelance police training, and along the way ends up helping the titular characters solve one of their cases. This helps keep Sam and Max on screen at all times, though they do have a tendency to walk through you, causing the screen to black out, or occasionally glitch out and slide across the environment through invisible walls. And neither of these problems hold a candle to the number of times the game takes control away from you though, and forces you to stand in place while you watch Sam and Max talk to each other. And trust me, I know, I get it. Watching Sam and Max interact is sort of the crux of any Sam and Max game. But in VR it's different, you don't always just want to stare at people talking. And this happens in Sam and Max a lot. And while the writing is pretty good overall, Max's insanity and Sam's dry wit are designed more to be experienced in short bursts, not hours at a time. So pull up a chair and play this one sitting down, because there's going to be a lot of downtime.
When you're ready for some target practice, just step into the circle and we'll set you up.
And you said I never recycle.
Outside of Sam & Max's non-stop stand-up routine, there's luckily quite a bit to do gameplay-wise. The developers obviously know what gamers are looking for in a VR game, and they deliver on that variety pretty frequently. Expect plenty of climbing, shooting, and goofy interactions, like the multiple times you're forced to play this version of Bop It, but with a decapitated head. There's even a moment or two that actually made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, because it was reminiscent of the point-and-click adventure games where you have to question witnesses and solve a puzzle or two. Sadly though, more often than not, it all comes off just too janky. There's mandatory click turning, the walk button isn't assigned to the move button. I experienced at least 2 game-breaking bugs that required me to restart the level, and I'm still not totally sure if this part of the game is beatable without switching back to teleportation. And the game never mentions that you need to. Oh, and you'd better have a great camera setup too, because there's no crouch button or easy way to pick up items if you drop them. And in a game like this where you're frequently reaching above you and below you, simply aiming the camera down further isn't an option. Sam & Max VR clocks in at around 3 to 4 hours, and strangely most of that will have nothing to do with puzzle solving like the good old days. In fact, it's even arguable that the real appeal of Sam & Max VR are the challenges. There's 9 in total throughout the course of the game, and after completing each one you're graded on your performance. And in order to get the Platinum Trophy, you'll probably have to play through them at least 2 or 3 times. So there's a decent amount of replayability here for trophy hunters, but for everyone else, it'll likely be a one and done.
Who's your favorite basketball player?
I like the guy who throws buckets of glitter on the crowd.
If his eyes are yellow, he's speaking the truth.
Thankfully, Sam & Max launched on PlayStation VR at the much more reasonable price of $20 rather than the $30 being charged over on other headsets. But the audience for this game is still going to be extremely limited. So how do you know if Sam & Max is for you? Well, ask yourself the following questions. First, do I love these characters and want to hang out with them in VR? Second, am I patient enough to deal with the frequent bugs and awkward control scheme? And third, am I a trophy hunter that'll get my money's worth by playing through this game at least twice? If you answered yes to at least 2 of those questions, you might want to consider it. Everyone else should probably hold off.
Toast!
Well, that's disappointing.
Smack me. Yank me. Smack me. Yank me. Smack me. Poke me. Poke me.
My neutrons are ready!
Nice move, Lumpy!
Smack me. Yank me. Smack me. Yank me. Smack me. Poke me. Poke me.
His eyes go to the right. He's telling the truth.
Twist me. Yank me. Poke me.